Namaste, welcome to Arthneeti, where we discuss money and money related tools to help you in your everyday investing decisions. I am Dr. Shefalika Gokhale. I hold a PhD in business practices of mutual fund houses. These videos are part of the customer awareness initiative of Samyak FinServe. In today's video, let us take a deep dive into a silent revolution that is happening on the Indian coastline. Yes, I'm talking about the ports of India. Sadly, the part of the Indian geography which has been hugely underutilized for decades. In this video, we will start with statistics as they stand today, the transformation and revolution that is happening in the Indian maritime industry, as well as cargo handling capacities of the port. Then we will go on to discuss about the new ports on the horizon and how they are going to increase the capacity of the maritime industry. Then we will dwell on a very important point, a deal that was struck between India and Iran, the Chabahar port deal, and how it is going to be of a huge advantage to the Indian industry. And lastly, as always, what all this means to the investors. How should investors look at maritime sector as a possible investment opportunity? So let us start. Let us look at the statistics as they stand today. China has a coastline of roughly 14,500 kilometers. It handles 30% of the world container traffic. India has a coastline of 7,500 kilometers. What, according to you, should be the handling capacity of India when it comes to world container traffic? Half of that of China? Logical? It handles only 2.5% of the world container traffic. Abysmal, isn't it? Singapore, which has a coastline of only 193 kilometers, is the second busiest port in the world, only next to Shanghai of China. It is the world's largest port in terms of tonnage handling. Now, in one of his recent interviews, PM Modi had said that through space technology, they discovered 1,300 islands in the Indian Ocean which belong to our country. Some of these islands are as big as Singapore. So, if there is right intent, India can build many Singapores around its coastline. How many years since independence? It's been 75 years. And we still do not know what part of land in the Indian Ocean belongs to us. Sad state of affairs, isn't it? But there is good news. The sleeping giant is awakening. The cargo handling capacity of major ports in India has almost doubled in the last decade, from a mere 750 million tons. Today, these ports handle roughly 1.6 billion tons of cargo and are growing. Also, one important factor in the maritime sector is the turnaround time, the time it takes from the boat ships anchoring at ports to the time that they leave after offloading or onloading cargo at these ports. Now, previously, the time which took was on an average 127 hours, so roughly 5.5 days. Now, this turnaround time has reduced to 53 hours, nearly 60% decrease in the turnaround time. So, cargo handling has also become efficient in the last few years. Competitiveness is one of the important factors if you aspire to become a leader in a particular sector. Compare the turnaround time of Indian ports, which roughly stands at 2.5 days, with that of Shanghai, the busiest port in the world, which the turnaround time of Shanghai is nearly 2 days, and that of Singapore is less than 12 hours. So, still some time before India achieves or becomes competitive in comparison to these competitors that it has. The shipping industry is responsible for carrying out nearly 90% of the world trade. Ports play an important role in making a nation a powerhouse in manufacturing and export. China is a prime example. In 2006, it had three of the top 10 largest ports in the world. By 2016, this number rose to seven. Yes, seven out of 10 largest ports in the world belong to China. India has just woken up to the potential of the maritime industry, this being the backbone of its aim to become the manufacturing hub to the world. It is not only upgrading its existing ports but building new, deeper ports. Till now, some of the biggest container ships in the world used to skip coming to Indian harbors. Why? Because they weren't deep enough. The ships had to go to ports in UAE like Dubai, Colombo, Singapore. But India has come up with an answer to this problem. Vadhavan port, which is located around 150 kilometers from Mumbai in Dahanu, is India's first deep water port. It will be capable of handling some of the biggest cargo ships in the world. Vizhinjam, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Vizhinjam in Kerala, which is a project by Adani Group, has received a government approval to become India's first full-fledged transshipment port. Why? Because of its strategic location right in between Suez Canal, which is a link between Asia and Europe, and Strait of Malacca near Singapore. So, this strategic location positions India to become a key player in some of the busiest global sea routes. Next, let us discuss the new deal which has been struck between India and Iran, the Chabahar port deal. India has signed a 10-year deal with Iran for the management of Chabahar port. Now, Chabahar is a strategic port from India's point of view. It offers a vital trade link between India and Afghanistan, Central Asian countries, and the larger Eurasian region. The INSTC, the North South Transport Corridor, a consortium of 13 members to reduce cost and time for trade between India and the North and Western European countries, will also be significantly benefited because of this deal. It has the potential of reducing the transit by 20 days and freight cost by nearly 30%. Now, in recent times, the Red Sea routes have been facing a lot of problems. Houthi rebels are targeting ships passing through the Suez Canal, forcing many carriers to go round the Cape of Good Hope, which is around South Africa, to reach Europe and USA. This has significantly increased not only the transit time but also the freight cost. The Chabahar port has the potential of circumventing this problem and reducing both cost and time for transport of goods to Europe and Asia. This deal will allow India to counterbalance Pakistan's Gwadar port and China's Belt and Road Initiative. It has a risk of attracting US sanctions, though. When questioned about the possibility of sanctions following this deal with Iran, our external affairs minister said that this port deal would benefit the entire region. A narrow view about this should not be taken by the US. Now, analyze these comments in the backdrop of the recent tariffs that US levied on Chinese made products like electric vehicles, steel and aluminium, solar panels, etc. So, only time will tell if the US will levy sanctions, or was it just a verbal warning? As an investor, here is a checklist of important points that you should focus on if you wish to invest in any port development company. Deep water dominance. Now, as I told you, Vadhva port is the first deep water port in the country which will have the capacity to handle some of the biggest cargo ships in the world. Now, this port is a state owned entity jointly owned by JNPA, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Authority, and Maharashtra Maritime Board. Secondly, importance should be given to location. Location, location, and location is quite strategic. as in the case of Vizhinjam port in Kerala, which is being developed by Adani and which is strategically located in one of the busiest sea routes in the world, from Suez Canal to the Strait of Malacca in Singapore. Thirdly, importance should also be given to how modern the ports are. Do they have, I'm sorry, cutting edge technology and infrastructure? How efficiently can they handle cargo? Lastly, look for ports which are backed by the initiatives of government of India, like the Maritime India Vision 2030 and the Amrit Kal Vision 2047. These visions aim to quadruple, increase 4 times the port handling capacity and create mega ports in the country. If you are thinking of investing in the maritime sector, you should be aware of a few downsides as well. Now, port development is a complex undertaking. Sometimes it can lead to project delays and cost overruns. Due to unexpected construction challenges, the company's profitability and finances can be strained. Secondly, this sector is heavily dependent on government policies. Any change in government policies can have adverse impact on the profitability of the port development company. Then, economic downturns, not only domestically but around the globe, can have impact on the traffic that the port handles. Any reduced traffic again will have negative impact on the profitability of the company. Then there can be infrastructural bottlenecks. Now, even if efficient ports are built, their success, I'm sorry, depends on proper inland connectivity like roads and rails. If these connections are lacking, they can hinder the movement of goods and reduce ports overall efficiency. But thankfully, India is taking giant strides in the development of inland transport. Lastly, the gestation period of the port development companies is very long. Now, what is gestation period? The period from the time the company invests in a project to the time it starts generating revenue from the project. Now, this long gestation period can impact the liquidity of the company. It can also hinder possibilities of selling your investment in case you want to liquidate the investment. So, this point is a very important factor which you cannot overlook. You need to consider these downsides before taking any decision of entering this sector. This sector is not suitable for all kinds of investors. If you are a long term investor with high risk tolerance and know how about the policies that the government changes relating to this sector, and keeps yourself updated about happenings in this sector not only in India but around the world, then yes, this sector is for you. Also, if you want to benefit from the growth of emerging markets and believe in that story, this sector is for you. Lastly, it is very crucial that you conduct your research on the specific company, the port project itself, and the overall market conditions before taking any investment decision. This video was for educational purposes and the happenings, the exciting happenings in the field of maritime sector. I hope you have liked this video. Please share, like, and subscribe to my channel and help it grow. Any query you have, please feel free to comment and I will be happy to answer it. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.